I want to talk about America's future, and this is a very dark place that I want to visit because all the signs are in my face every single day, and I just want to draw some conclusions and see how things go. The Sufi master said that there were a lot of revelations and psychic experiences and premonitions that the past Sufi masters or the past prophets, the past spiritualists, they knew about this stuff because they were receiving all these messages from the divine or from the spirit world. But if I try to bring out some of these ideas or messages, well, in the old literature they call it revelations, then what will happen is that I will probably lose even a few audiences that I have, and then also I might get invitation from loony houses. Hey, we have a spot here for you. But this is some subject that it's in a little back channels in YouTube, like Hassan Saad's channel, and I kind of give myself the right to speculate or express my views. A lot of places don't want my views at all, but some of these ideas also come from Salente. I think he's one of the few, if any, commentators that talk about future projections or trends that the United States might be going through. I think Peter Schiff, he kind of talks about it, that the future of the United States is a dark place, that maybe a lot of people don't want to visit this future. Well, Peter Schiff was talking about the wall and what a stupid idea it was to build this wall, and he was saying that in the future this wall might be used to keep Americans in, because first of all, nobody wants them out. I will tell you why. And also the foreigners that might be the recipient of such Americans, they just want to get rid of them. Well, there is, Salente was also saying that the future wars will not be like you think, because generals usually want to fight the old wars, like with tanks and ships. And I'm gonna kind of paint some scenarios of how it might look like a World War III might look like, and it will be very quick. But what will not be quick was the enduring scars and pain that will follow. I want to tell you one of the psychic experience I had. It's kind of telling. I was in a dream. I was walking down like a city street. It was like an urban area with tall buildings, nice town. And as I was walking down this street, I see that on the other side of the city, a little ways up, this whole building went on fire. It just spontaneously burst into flames. Then I looked in the distance and I saw another building, big, tall building, just spontaneously burst into flames. When I woke up, I thought, this is very strange dream. How the hell an entire building can can get on fire. But this kind of points to the kinds of weapons, the kind of warfare that's going to happen. Well, Salente talks about EMPs, like nukes going up in space, blowing up in space, and like there will be 4 or 5 nuclear reactors that will be, you know, going critical and spewing all kinds of pollutants everywhere. But it could be much more different than even that. Well, I was looking at some videos about the Russians and the Iranians too. Iran has these weapons now. There is a weapon, it's called A2AD. I think that's the name. Yeah, is electromagnetic. It's just like EMP on demand, and it's hooked up or is installed in many Russian Russian fighter planes. So what will happen with such a device that this fighter plane comes in over an aircraft carrier and turns on this EMP, and the EMP completely fries all the electronics in the aircraft carrier, destroys all the electronics, and it's just like a mini nuke has gone off near the aircraft carrier, and it doesn't kill humans, but everything else is done. And there has been instances of this, and then the ship that's left is nothing but a floating, pile of metal. That's all there is. So this is one form. There was a movie a while ago about North Korea. That North Korea has installed these massive lasers. It was a satellite that collect all kinds of sunlight, converts it to electricity and laser beam, and then it was the North Koreans could shoot the laser beam down onto whatever, onto DMZ zone, onto South Koreans. Well, it's kind of like the dream that I was seeing. That some unfriendly foreign nation turn on laser beams and destroy entire buildings. I think this is a new kind of warfare that we are going to see. And then these ideas, concepts, even though they look like science fiction, but they are in our civilization. They're old. That movie was made like 20 years ago. So these technologies are out there. Many countries have them. I think Iran has them, and that's probably what's going to happen. And then other form of warfare that that will happen is that warfare will become very personal. It's costly to kill a lot of civilians, a lot of people, like what Turkey is doing, attacking villages and attacking areas in Syria. Because when civilians get killed, then there is repercussions in the UN, and then other countries will get involved. But what if the technology has grown to an extent that you could get very personal and only kill people that have tormented you? For example, the laser could vaporize Pentagon, entire Pentagon, instead of killing or destroying entire city of Washington D.C. What if somebody was a little bit more resourceful and eliminated the problem? I think that this in the future war, it would be the the militaries itself that would come under attack. No, no civilians, no trouble in the UN, no repercussions. Well, then another thing that will be going on in the future wars, or these wars are already happening, but we are not aware of it, or we don't want to be aware of it, is that with drones and with AI, the different governments will target each other's politicians, each other's military commanders, each other's military equipment, and the targets are very well known. There is all this hacking going on that has been going on for 20, 30 years. I mean, is there a CIA agent or a FBI agent that the Russians don't know his name and address? I mean, this is like that. This is and the foreigners, they are more sophisticated technologically and with equipment than the Americans. But then also this will extend to populations. There is um, a prophecy by Edgar Casey that he was saying that there will come a day, there will come a time when the safety of many Americans will be a big question mark. And I think that this refers to many Americans that like in bases in foreign countries, or diplomats, or businessmen, and United States has been very successful in harassing or manipulating foreign governments, overthrowing them, invading them. Many regulations or laws that are just crap and only serves certain corporation. The U.S. government puts its full faith and credit and forces many foreign countries to honor these stupid laws, honor copyright protections for some company in Hollywood. And when the tide turns, when the foreigners are immune, which is the case today, then they'll take it on the Americans that they can find, they can put in prison. So I think this is not a very pretty future, both for the Americans inside the United States and outside of the United States. Then when you talk to or when you hear many American politicians, they are so deeply hostile to immigrants, to foreigners, to foreign countries, to foreign governments. Well, I just want to mention just a few that just Trump himself in the last year or so, the stuff that he has done. The previous administrations, they were in cahoot with ISIS or the Wahhabis or the Taliban secretly, and they were financing this base, or they had made this base full of Wahhabi fighters in Afghanistan. Anyhow, when the Americans were done with them and they knew there is no future or use for them, well, Trump ordered the U.S. military to drop mother of all bombs, which is a conventional bomb, but it's equivalent in destructive power to a mini nuke. So with one bomb, they killed I don't know many people and destroyed villages, entire area, and this is just completely heartless, completely inhuman, and I don't know if Americans or their military or their politicians are aware of the impression that they have made all around the world of how people think of them. Well, another action that Trump took was totally abandon the courts. Well, the Americans use the courts all the time. They come in, give them some money and weapons, use them as protection or in war against whoever they want, and then when they're done, they just dump them, and the courts then get their butt kicked very, very hard, and this is what's happening now. Actually, I think that the Iranian government should shelter or let the courts that are, or women or children to migrate to parts of Iran if they want to continue with civilian life, and also provide some kind of military protection. The Kurds, their language and their genetics, they're really an Iranian tribe. If you hear Kurdish language, you can tell that these people they're very, very closely related to Iranians. We shouldn't let them get slaughtered. Also, on the other hand, the Iranians or people who know this area should give counseling to these small minorities that get punished by many sides, to not trust Americans, not to accept their help, not to be used and abused, and also get kicked around by many other political forces or military forces, because the bad guys, the only bad guys are the Americans and the Israelis. And when they're done doing all the stupid things, they'll just dump you. Well, another thing that happened was that the CIA went around and hired many Iranians to do spying for them, because the Iranian nationals, and they went inside Iran, but the Iranian secret police Savama caught up with them. Well, 10 of these people are getting executed. The other 7, I don't know what's going to happen. I think they're going to hold them in prison and collect information on them to find out who else CIA had hired, and then execute them too. Well, what I'm saying is by all these unilateral, extremely violent, self-serving philosophies and practices, the Americans have alienated deeply many groups and foreigners across the board, and they are going to become extremely isolated. Well, I think that the future of the United States is something like North Korea 10 years ago, or Nazis at the end of the World War, or the Romans at the end of their empire, when they're facing a world of enemies. They have no friends. They have wrecked everything there was. There's no bridges for them. Then on the economic side, I think that Trump, between all the presidents, he's going to become the most famous for being the most stupid, taking every disgusting action that has damaged the U.S. economy. Well, he's putting all these tariffs on foreigners, all these tariffs on Chinese companies. Well, I think that one scenario that might happen is that one of these governments, Russian or Chinese, they'll pull the plug on the Americans, either EMP them or cause a lot of pain, or I think that this time it will be like kind of secret when something happens, but you don't know who did it because there's so many nukes in space, so many nukes hidden here and there on submarines. It, after this shit hits the fan, it's gonna kind of, you need a real forensic to find out where it came from or who instigated it. And well, the, this this dark future is exasperated by kind of extreme complacency that you see in American population. And the view they hold of foreigners is or Chinese, or as if they are thinking about some African tribe. They're very primitive. They don't have very good weapons. They can be manipulated. All we have to do is make some laws, and when the time comes in, we'll kick their ass and we'll enforce our laws. This is the view that the general population holds, which is completely not true. Uh, the these scenarios is kind of unending. I had trouble with my car. I have to get insurance, so I'm using the bus. It's really cheap for me because I'm disabled too, and in the bus stop that made this little. It was a small flyer, and they put it on the sign of the bus. And you know how the bus has a little plaque, and it says this is the bus route. And when I looked I pulled it out, I think, and I looked at it. It was kind of like it was saying, in the event or in the unlikely event or likely event that something extraordinary might happen, maybe like maybe the North Koreans or the Chinese or the Iranians exploded a nuke over Washington D.C. In this unlikely event, just bring some fruit, some food, bring your cell phone. If it works, then la la la. Then I think that at some levels of the U.S. government, they know that one of these scenarios is going to happen. It's because of their own extreme treatment or confrontations with many foreign nations that the, most probably one of these is going to happen. They are going to be the victim this time around. There was something else I wanted to go over. Well, I like this Celente's analogy that this wall that Trump made is going to be used by foreigners and Americans to hold Americans in. I think that it was Peter Schiff that made that analogy. And also, I want to tell a few audiences I have that I do not think that Trump is going to get re-elected, because in many localities here in California and outside, there is a sizable percentage of population. They are not they are not undocumented aliens. They are American nationals or second generation Mexican American that don't like him. His racist and his philosophies, they're offensive, and also it has damaged their economy, damaged many businesses that are not owned and operated by beautiful white people, and he is not doing well in many polls across the country, and you should think about somebody else. And also the economic system is like a zombie that's on life support. And, even if it lasts till the election, it is headed for a crash. Well, I don't want to talk about the economic aspects because many analysts they cover it really well, but you should kind of look at the political and military consequences. There is some other stuff in the religion of Islam. It is wrong to lie, but it's not wrong. It is recommended concealment that for military purposes, or well, the Muslims say for benefit of ummah, for the nation, benefit of the nation, that you must lie sometimes. And this is exactly what I think the Khamenei is doing. Mr. Khamenei, he's giving a very nice lie that Iran doesn't have nukes. In fact, I think Iran has nukes, and judging by all the actions that the Iranians have taken of developing absolutely any kind of weapon and technology and mass producing it to the extreme, making underground cities full of rockets, making advances in many technologies like nanotechnology or nuclear technology. I'm very hard pressed to think that Iran doesn't have nukes or rockets that can deliver nukes, or doesn't have nukes in space, or doesn't have EMP or A2AD. This is very hard for me to believe. Also, when you're born in a country, you kind of know when you hear something that just doesn't jive with your culture, you just know it's a lie. Well, if you were born like me in Iran, you know Iranian history, you know that Iran is at the crossroads, has been invaded like 20 times, and have been completely wrecked by many nations. And any Iranian military person or general that did not want, for whatever reason, spiritual or psychic, or they didn't want to develop nukes, develop absolutely any technology that would put an end to Western adventures. Well, that person, he will not be an Iranian military commander or Iranian general or Iranian politician. It doesn't add up. No way. And there is evidence that there is nukes, and they probably in thousands of one or several of the thousands of underground cities or underground bunkers or huge bases that are like 500 meters down on the ground in all over Iran. I would also, the Iranian military talks about secret weapons, but there was a discussion before that uh, the U.S. was saying that IRGC, the Iranian part of the Iranian military commanders, that they are a criminal organization and they shouldn't be around. But then there were demonstrations in Iran and even other countries that saying that if it wasn't for very strong military, all these weapons and advanced technologies, the United States or Israel would be able to bomb and ruin many parts of Iran, just like they have done in Iraq, in Syria, in Afghanistan, even in Pakistan. And the I think that if they took an adventure, they're going to get really wiped out. And the only reasons some politicians in Iran are saying that we don't have nukes is because they want to have good relations with foreign governments, foreign countries. They don't want to have a state of war all the time. There are some European countries that we want to be friends with, or they have been friends with us, regardless of what America thinks. But I think that the future is a dark place here, and all these militarism, all these very heavy-handed control on commerce in the United States, and also against foreigners or foreign companies, it is going to really backfire. And this place will become like one of those socialist, militarized states with many stupid people that are like zombies. They repeat everything that the government has fed them. Well, thank you very much for being my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, leave your comments, and thank you for giving me a chance to have an audience or have a venue to express myself.